there is only a certain select few I would even entertain the fact of, trading a Marcus Smart for. Another one, Malcolm Brogdon. Okay, he averages what, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists.
Brogdon takes it right at Kyrie Irving.
Limits the closest three-point shot.
Oh, Malcolm Brogdon. He looked at Kyrie Irving earlier in the game. He does not look at the yank. Look at Kyrie Irving.
Bad after playing so well, and this is the dunk on Brogdon. Look at that, Jim. It's a hook.
YouTube, how's everyone doing? Jags to Riches, James Peters, thank you all so much for your time. The Boston Celtics and Brad Stevens have done it again, pulling off an absolute home run blockbuster steal. Shocking, incredible. You picked the word. Trade yesterday with the Indiana Pacers, which would see the Celtics receive Malcolm Brogdon in return for Daniel Tice, Aaron Nesmith, Nick Stauskas, Juwan Morgan, and Malik Fitz, and a first. So a 6-player trade with a pick involved. I mean, massive trade. And like I said, it caught, I think, it shook Celtics Twitter, and I think caught a lot of people off guard. Malcolm Brogdon is a name that has been associated with this team for quite a while, but it is the manner that Brad Stevens was able to pull this trade off that has everyone just blown away by what this really means for this team. The fact that we were able to sign Danilo Gallinari and trade for Malcolm Brogdon in the same day with only losing Tyson Nesmith, and really, honestly, nobody we lost was really a core rotation member in the playoffs, or especially, on the deep run. So you bring in those two caliber players, especially Brogdon, I mean, without really losing anything. It is absolutely insanity to me what Brad Stevens and this organization was able to pull off. Excuse me, I'm a little excited. This is kind of raw. Obviously me and Bobby did a live stream yesterday where it was about an hour long on Celtics Corner. It was excellent. We had, I think, 150 people or more throughout the entire duration. And it was a raw reaction, kind of just going into the details of the day, talking about everything going on with all, the max signings in the NBA and some of, the different DeJounte Murray, Jalen Brunson, some of the players like that, PJ Tucker, that are on the move. But, I mean, this one to me, just again, when you think about the players that are on the move this offseason, Rudy Gobert, DeJounte Murray, Jalen Brunson, and then obviously Malcolm Brogdon, 3 of those 4 were on trades. One of them obviously on the 4-year 110 contract. But when you look at the price that everyone paid in comparison to what the Celtics paid, how can you say that we didn't win or have not so far won this offseason? They gave up 3 first-rounders in a swap for DeJounte Murray, 4 firsts for Rudy Gobert. We gave up 1 Nesmith and Tice. And, oh, by the way, the guy y'all traded Danilo Gallinari to get Murray, we'll go ahead and take him on the MLE as well. So I am blown away again. We're going to just look at who Malcolm Brogdon is, some of his, recent stats and accomplishments. More importantly, what I think he means to this team. And just how he'll be utilized, I think, is really what the most intriguing question is. But I mean, right off the bat, Malcolm Brogdon, 29 years old. He'll be 30 this year in December. 6'5", 230 pounds. He was actually drafted in the 2nd round, 36th overall by the Bucks out of Virginia, which he actually spent 5 years there. He was 2-time All-ACC. He was an All-American. He highly decorated, a lot of awards throughout there. I believe he actually had his jersey retired as well. So excellent career there. And then he followed that up with a Rookie of the Year performance. And that was one of those ones that it was kind of controversial because Joel Embiid he averaged 20 and 8 and was spectacular, but only played in 30 games. Meanwhile, Brogdon was this steady force, played in 75 games, started in 28 of them, averaged 10, 3, and 4, shot 40+% from the 3, and was just, solid and on both sides. This is a two-way player, make no mistake about it. So one Rookie of the Year with the Bucks. Now, obviously, 2019, he would end up getting traded, and it was a sign-and trade to the Pacers. It was one of those situations where the Bucks ran into having to re-sign Middleton to a max, and Brogdon ended up signing a 4-year, $85 million, and I think it's just they didn't have the money for it to do both. So they ended up getting 3 future picks. I think one of them was a first. And then again, like I said, Brogdon with the 4-year, $85 million. He was a restricted free agent at the time. Now, with the Bucks, he would come off the bench the first 2 years, but that final year, he started all 64 out of 64 games. And that was his breakout year for them. He averaged just under 16 points, 4.5 rebounds, 3+ assists, shot 42.5% from 3 on 28 minutes. But when he got to Indiana is really where he broke out. Starting in the 1920 season, he would average just under 17 points and 5 rebounds, 7 assists, That was on 31 minutes a game. And then his best statistical season, which would come the following year, 2021, he averaged 21 plus points, 5 plus rebounds, 6 assists, shot 39.5% from 3 on 56 games in 34.5 minutes. And then this previous season, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. He only played in 36 games, and that's going to be the one knock on him. It's going to come down to his health. Now, his playoff career has not been as successful. 4 times he was in the playoffs, 3 times with the Bucks, once with the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat being the standout one. Even though they were swept, he still averaged 21.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 10 assists. So it has been several years. It was the bubble year, the year they went to the damn finals. The Miami Heat went to the finals, was the last time he actually was in it. So some of the pros of Malcolm Brogdon, playmaking, scorer, reliable under pressure, only a career 1.8 turnovers, right? Good size, can play either the 1 or 2, so a combo guard, and it's the 3-point shooting. It's his shooting overall. This is a 50-40-90 guy, and again, he's a career 37, almost 38% from 3. Very strong two-way player. This is no slouch on the defensive end. He's not no Marcus Smart, but he is not far off. He's like, kind of like how Derek White is. Derek White is no joke either, but obviously not Marcus Smart. But then you're talking about when you look at a backcourt rotation of Smart, White, and Brogdon all being thrown at somebody, Lord have mercy, what a gauntlet of defenders. Another pro, he is signed over the next several years at 22.5, 22.6, 22.5, following that. But the next 3 years, he is signed. He can play on ball. He can play off ball. Strong rebounder. Like I said, out of all the point guards on this team, he is the highest career average. He checks several important boxes for us. Like I mentioned, the playmaking, the shooting, and our depth. And the con for me, it's the health concerns with the 54 games, 56 games, 36 games over the past several years. And especially when you compare that to some of our other players like Smart. Past 3 years, 60 games, 48 games, and then 71 this past year. Rob Williams, you look at him, 61 this past year, 52, 29. So some of our key guys, that's why it could be extremely important. Brogdon now playing for Indiana, how many of those games actually, were missed because of injury and not just because of shutting it down, but him being able to take some of the load off of Marcus Smart, and hopefully that can help both of their asses stay healthy, because we need both of them, for deep playoff runs. So what does this mean for our rotation and our roster? Because I think that is really what is a very interesting question. Because when you look at the roster right now, it's crazy. You got Tatum, Brown, Smart, Horford, Williams, Brogdon, White, Gallinari, Grant Williams, Peyton Pritchard. So that's 10 right there. And then obviously Hauser and Cornette come back. But think of how deep that is right there, right? It's like, what I anticipate you'll see out the gates is that they probably return with the same starting 5. It was right up there, best starting 5, statistically in the NBA, went on a finals run. And then I think Brogdon will probably start in that 6-man role. So you'll see, Brogdon, White, Grant, and Danilo as, the key guys off the bench. However, I do believe that it will eventually transition to where Brogdon and Smart are your starters with the Jays and Rob Williams with Al Horford coming off the bench. It's just Al Horford will be 37 years old, I believe, this month. So he'll be playing next season at 37, turning 38. And I think that you just have to do whatever you can to keep him fresh, keep him healthy. You've seen how important and much he elevated his game in the playoffs. So keeping these guys, the fatigue level down. And I think Brad Stevens has done an excellent job addressing some of the bench and depth that will allow Ime to give Horford less minutes, because now Danilo can go in on a night he's, lighting it up from three, or, if Smart is, having an off night, or, fatigued, you can go with a Brogdon and a White. And I mean, you're starting to see, I think we're one more big man, maybe another wing away from really solidifying, out this roster. But right now, I love what I'm seeing. Again, I think that this puts us, we are betting favorites right now to win the championship next year. We got to see what happens with KD, of course. But again, I was already on the train of a finals appearance and a deep ECF run again with small tweaks. And this is not a small tweak. This is a humongous move, and especially without giving up anything. So again, I really do think that this puts us back into the finals. I believe that it's Boston and Milwaukee are the two top teams in the East, with like Philly and Miami, right behind them. But again, A+ performance by Brad Stevens. Now, this of course, like I said, it answered a bunch of our needs, for all of the ones I named. So what does that mean? And the fact that I actually just did a video not too long ago, 2 days ago, where I went into details about Marcus Smart, and it was a whole video about point guards. And I essentially was saying why I didn't think that they needed to trade out Smart or break up this core or anything along those lines, bring in some, players to beef up the bench and, address playmaking that way. But in that video, I mentioned that there are, of course, those point guards where you have to take the phone call, you have to consider it. And those guys I mentioned were DeJounte Murray, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Malcolm Brogdon. I said, of course, something along the lines of course, I would have to call up Indiana and talk to them about Brogdon, Turner. And that's why I'm more with, I'd like to call up Indiana, talk to them about Brogdon and Turner and Rubio, Buddy Hield, just because there's so many options. And you figured the direction they're going with Halliburton and Chris Duarte, a young, really, exciting backcourt, that you could get one of these guys, probably on the low. I did not expect it to be Brogdon. I thought that it would require Smart in order to get him. But the fact that Brad Stevens was able to do this type of move without giving up any of his core pieces, and especially Marcus Smart, again, is a home run. Because I don't like when it's hard to say like running back, like by committee. It's like when, the Browns get Kareem Hunt to add to Nick Chubb, and you're talking about two of the best running backs in the game. Well, now all of a sudden you've got two guys that you can really turn to depending on the situation. These are two guys that essentially either one of them can play the one. Brogdon, like I said, is a combo guard. He really is that perfect fit because he's a playmaker that can defend, but he's also a great shooter. Fundamentally sound. I mean, he is efficient, effective, cool under pressure. He slows the game down. I mean, he like I said, on or off ball, he checks so many things. And I think that, he is somebody that will be in the game in crunch time when it matters. I just don't see how you cannot have him in there. So to me, he ends up starting with Smart, the Jays, and Rob, bringing Al and Derek White as your two first guys off the bench. You'll probably bring in White for, either Brogdon or Smart, and then you bring in Al for probably Rob, and you go from there. But I just want to know, how's everyone feel? What's everyone thinking? I mean, I'm pretty sure that, it's going to be a Smart versus Brogdon argument. And I think it's kind of an intriguing one. I think that this is notice how they're both pretty much signed for the next several years. And this gives us some leeway. If one of them are clearly the better fit, who's to say that Brad Stevens now does not have an option to go down this direction? And while we're doing that, why don't we go ahead and pull up something? As you all know, a series me and Bobby like to do when we are comparing certain players is the breakdown. Now, of course, I have to do one here with Brogdon, Marcus Smart. Now, what this is, these are their best statistical seasons. And what do I mean by that is Brogdon, this is actually 2 years ago when he actually had the 21, 5, and 6 in the 2021 season. And Marcus Smart, this is this past season in Defensive Player of the Year, 12, 4, and 6. Now, both of these guys, it's basically the past 2 years they've, kind of balled out. Smart in the 2021 season is when he averaged the 13, 3.5, and 5.7 assists. And obviously Brogdon this past year, he averaged 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. Now, the thing about it, it's Brogdon, like I said, is a solid defender, excellent two-way player, but he is the only one on this team besides the Jays that has averaged over 20 plus points in his career. That is not something that Marcus can do. Marcus is not going to, none of these guys are going to be able to go average 21 or 20. Al, Rob, those are 10-point guys. That's not their game. Marcus Smart, his career high's like 13. Same with Derek White. He was averaging 11. So we brought in a guy that, though I don't expect him to average this, this was basically him as like the number 2 behind Sabonis in Indiana, but I expect him to still average somewhere in like the maybe 16 to 18 range, probably 4.5 rebounds, close to around 5, 6, maybe even more assists. But I think that now, because like the Bucks, when he played with Middleton and Giannis, and he pretty much was shooting over 40% the entire time while he was there, I think you'll see something similar here. He's going to have, his game is just going to be able to play make and find the open man, be able to do the lob to Rob and the pick and roll, dishing it out to a bunch of guys who can shoot, get it to the Jays and make plays for them. I am thrilled about this signing. Again, I think it is a home run, A+. And as long as he can stay healthy, which is the same thing we say about all these guys on this team, Rob Williams, as long as he can stay healthy, I think that this was, pretty much as good as it gets when it comes to a realistic trade scenario, especially when it comes to what it cost us. The Brad Stevens, I cannot say enough. Executive of the Year incoming next year. I mark my words. Ime is going to win Head Coach of the Year. Brad Stevens is going to win Executive of the Year without question. Shout out to Danny Ainge as well out there in Utah. It seems like he's doing the damn exact same thing he did here in Boston with the rebuild with Brad. Got in Will Hardy, traded away their superstars that didn't work for a shitload of picks and rebuild, man. Good luck, Danny. But again, guys, let me know what your reaction to Malcolm Brogdon. Do you think who's going to be the starter? Better yet, let me know who finishes the game, and not more so at the start of the season. Let's think like as it goes on. Do you think Smart loses his job to him, or do you think that they end up, going the route of Smart and Brogdon, putting maybe Horford on the bench and, trying to get him a little bit of rest? And besides, what about Danilo? How are we feeling about him? Obviously, I've talked about him a few times in my more recent videos. How are we feeling about these moves? I think that this was a Felice job. They did fantastic, and I am on cloud 9, as I think the rest of you are. Like I said, there's maybe another move to be made. We'll have to sit back and see. They still have this TP. That's crazy. The $17 million TPE still looming. But now I'm actually more on the, I could really see them not using it just based on, Brogdon is kind of the type of guy you want, and that he just costs more. You know what I mean? There's no real need anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised because they got in that huge splash, impact player. Whether he's a starter or off the bench. If he's off the bench, that's a potential 6th man of the year. And it, like I said, answers all the questions we needed with bench scoring. If he's a starter, he answers the question with playmaking, a switchable defender for the scheme. I just feel like he is I could go on and on about Brogdon and how great of a fit and how excellent of a trade this is. Knock on wood to him staying healthy. But again, guys, thank you all so much for your time. We are literally right there at 500 subs. Last I checked, I think we were like 1 or 2 away. So again, thank you all so much for the new subscribers. And yeah, we're at 499 as I look at it right now. So whoever is the next subscriber, shout out to you, number 500. Again, go check out that live stream with me and Bobby going over all of yesterday's signings and, of course, the Brogdon and Danilo a little bit more. We spent an hour going over everything. Check out Celtics Corner. Bobby basically did live reactions to their highlights, to everything that was going on. But again, Jags to Riches, James Peters, thank you all so much for your time. Have an excellent rest of your weekend. Take care.